Let's talk about speed painting. Speed painting is like the Goldilocks of painting styles, where we create quality models fast enough to actually be able to play with them in our lifetime. But how do we do good speed painting, and what even counts as good speed painting? Well, let's talk about it. Maybe we can actually chew through a little bit more of that collection you've been building over the past few years. I want to make this video because I feel like speed painting has become the gold standard of painting minis. I mean, everybody wants good minis faster, so I can't really blame us. Gotta love instant gratification, baby. But I wanted to kind of outline my thought process that goes into speed painting, because while videos that outline specific methods for specific models are awesome, I wanted to give you folks the tools required to create your own speed painting processes so you can apply it to your own little fellas. Something, give a man a fish, teach him to eat forever. You know how it goes. But before we get into it, let's get some housekeeping out of the way. No, not that type of housekeeping. Don't worry, gamer. Your fortress of solitude will remain intact. First off, holy shit, we broke 300 subscribers last week, which is absolutely insane, and I can't thank you guys enough. You're amazing, and your lovely comments keep me on my Sigmar male grind set, and I couldn't be happier. Secondly, I gotta plug the Twitch channel, because streaming to two people is the digital parasocial equivalent of screaming into the void. Please help me. I'm live every Monday, Wednesday, and now I'm live on Sunday at 10 p.m. Eastern. Streams are usually super chill, and you can bully me into painting whatever you want. Chad has bullied me into creating creations like Princess Pinky, or the time trial squig, where I managed to paint a squig in like 45 minutes. Also, sometimes we do useful things like tutorials and answer questions. Basically, we just kind of like dick around and listen to music. It's a good time. Lastly, I swear I'm done after this one. I'm going to Adepticon, and I'm entering a piece into Golden Demon. So if you're going to be at Adepticon, come say hi. Anyways, that's enough bullshitting. Let's get back to the actual video. To me, speed painting is a highly technical style of painting that uses tools and mechanics to dramatically increase the speed of mini painting without sacrificing a significant amount of the quality. But why should you listen to me? Well, I've been in the hobby for about 5 or 6 years now, and I'm a commission painter, so most of the time I have a monetary interest in painting as good as I can, as quickly as humanly possible. My hands look like this, so hers can look like this. After pondering my orb for a little bit, I figured out that there are 3 components that make up good speed painting. The first piece of the puzzle is the techniques we use for speed painting. The second is color management, and the last piece is efficiency. But let's dive into it. To get started, we need to discuss the techniques that make speed painting work. In my humble opinion, the use of washes, oils, contrast, dry brushing, and airbrushing are the things that make speed painting mechanically possible. You can and absolutely should use these techniques on non-speed painting applications, but without these techniques, we're kind of stuck with the good old-fashioned layering and glazing with brush, and anyone who's ever done that before will tell you the exact same thing.
This shit is slow as fuck.
If you're interested in those particular techniques, let me know in the comments, and I can do a video that breaks down each one in detail. But for this video, that's just a bit outside of the scope for today. So now that we have our techniques that we're going to lean on, we now need to consider the next major part of speed painting, which is color. Color is just as important to all painting, but when you're speed painting, we have to think extra hard about what colors we're using, because color is going to pull a lot of extra weight in speed painted pieces. The thing is all of our speed painting techniques we mentioned above don't really render details super well. So we're going to have to make up for that with being smart about color. Color choice can actually affect the viability of speed painting as well. For example, speed painting colors like white or black can be a lot harder than other colors. Also, we need to think about simplicity. The more colors that you want to put on your mini, the longer it's going to take to paint, and the harder it's going to be to actually speed paint. That being said, don't just take away colors for speed's sake. Lastly, that brings us to efficiency. Efficiency is going to be the speed part in our speed painting, and it will allow us to maximize results while minimizing the time we spend doing it. We need to focus our efforts on the parts of the mini that will get you the most visual bang for your buck, and that probably means we aren't going to spend 3 hours painting the backside of the ass. Instead, we should focus on the focal points of the mini like weapons, bases, and chests. Unfortunately, this is just one of the limitations of speed painting. While it would be nice to spend a bunch of time on every single part of the mini, it's just not viable, especially if you plan on getting your army painted sometime in this century. Efficiency also means that we're probably going to need to batch paint if we're doing an entire unit. Batch painting is essentially just assembly line work where we complete one step on every mini before we move on to the next step. This is the benefit of allowing us to work on multiple models at one time, which allows us to paint a model and then go on to a next model while the other models dry. This makes you guessed it, a lot more efficient. Well, now that we have our basic building blocks, it's actually time to apply them to a little fella. Recently, I just picked up the Donner Party Nights box set, and I've been in deep trying to get these guys painted up. These models are super fucking cool, and honestly, they've been an absolute joy to paint. And also, there's a metric fuck ton of them, so they're the perfect candidates for speed painting. Normally, you'd probably want to batch paint these guys, but I'm doing this for a video, so I'm not going to do that. Just pretend I'm batch painting with your imagination. It's easy, just kind of like how I imagine having good parents as a kid. So the first thing that we're going to do is a classic prime. I'm going to prime white because I just got this primer and I'm going to use it, goddammit. Also, white primer will make for a more vibrant mini, which is what I want. Next, we're going to do an all-over coat of dark purple. This is going to be our shadow and is also going to serve as the dark part of our white zenithal for our next step. This is just going to be your classic zenithal using white ink through an airbrush and then shooting from above to mimic a light source. Once our zenithal is dry, we're going to move on to establishing the skin tone. This is going to be key as a solid 80% of our mini is just going to be straight skin. For this, I'm going to mix together Plague Bearer Contrast and Somber Gray to get a really nasty greenish gray color. This is going to be applied through the airbrush, but I'm going to thin it down quite a bit. I'm basically aiming to tint the mini, and I don't want to reach full opacity, because if I do, it will ruin our nice zenithal. Take your time with this and build up a couple layers of colors until you're happy with the tone, and you can still see the zenithal underneath. After that, it's time to apply our little flesh tints for the hands, feet, and mouth. You could totally use a brush for this step, but it'll just be slower, so I decided to use an airbrush. For this step, I'm using Voluptuous Pink Contrast Paint, and I'm just firing it through the airbrush to slowly build up color. This is thinned down pretty well, but if you're using a brush, you're going to want to thin it down even more to ensure that you get a nice, smooth transition. Next, we're going to take some Wildwood Brown Contrast and then thin it down with some water or medium. We're going to apply this on the fur and shaft and any tiny little pieces of totally not human leather clothing. Once that's done, we're going to mix together an oil wash. I'm mixing together this green, brown, and purple to create this lovely color. I'm not going to varnish the mini because I do want the oil wash to tint the skin pretty heavily. No fancy tricks here, just a classic all-over wash looking to avoid too much pooling with your brush. Let the oil paint dry for about 20 or so minutes or until it's no longer visibly wet. You don't want to wait too long or else the next step is going to be very difficult. Once our paint is relatively dry, I'm going to come back with a makeup Q-tip and start to remove the wash from the raised surfaces of the mini. Chances are you probably won't even need mineral spirits for this, but if you're not getting the results that you want, you can use mineral spirits on your Q-tip to loosen it up a bit. This next part is crucial though. You must wait at least a day to let your oils dry and cure. Do not, and I mean do not, under any circumstances, apply acrylics on top of wet oil paint. Now that the oils are dry, we can finish the metallics. For this fella, I'm going to use my tried and true dirty down dry brush method. All we need to do is base coat our metallic areas in our favorite silver color and then give it a nice coat of dirty down rust. Once the rust is done drying, I'll come back with a dry brush of the original metallic paint to finish it off. How rusted you want your metallics to be will define how much you decide to dry brush. For a more rusted look, dry brush less. For a less rusty look, dry brush more. Simple as. Now that our metallics are done, this mini is basically done. There are a couple details still left over, but they're super minor and you can hopefully probably figure them out on your own. Also, if you feel like it, you could go back and add even more detail, but that's if you feel like it. It's totally up to you. Anyways, that will do it for this week's video. I hope you folks found it helpful and that it will help you work through a little bit more of your collection. Thank you so much for stopping by and feel free to like and subscribe if you enjoyed the video. And as always, remember, the only bad mini is an unpainted mini.